First one is I strongly identify with Charlie's hatred of scheduling things and desire to maximize freedom. However, I recently read Carl Jung's theory about the eternal child syndrome, which is common in people with traumatic childhoods. The eternal child lives a temporary life, doesn't connect with others, and fears getting stuck. Do you think it's wise to explore more closely one's intense pursuit of freedom if there is trauma in the past, or is this just a personality trait? I sometimes wonder if my intolerance for any restriction stems from seeing my alcoholic parents stuck in their awful marriage and substance abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there is definitely value in that, for sure. There's also value. I mean, you can come at that from two angles in. You can say, hey, I likely have this trauma from my childhood and I want to explore that. And you can also say, I have symptoms of what is potentially caused by trauma, and you can go into the symptoms. The older I get, the more I see that like everybody's personality is a culmination of their past, which includes trauma. So everything that I am is a bit of a trauma response. And I think what the question is, which of those responses are hindering my flourishing and hindering your flourishing? There's a degree to which you could argue, like I don't like commitment in a million forms. That is hindering me. I would love to discuss it with someone who felt differently. Actually, this is a thing. So Jordan Peterson, I was watching, and he's so big on marriage, and we've kind of talked about it on the podcast. And he really speaks very disparagingly of my approach, which is like I get in relationships, but I do not want to put a ring on any finger, and I don't want to make a promise that I can't keep or that would be highly difficult to keep. And that's like the value of marriage for him, is that even when it's hard, you have to stick together. And to me, that's the entire argument against marriage.
But didn't he's speaking for a culture as a whole? He's saying like culturally it's best for society.
I agree with him.
All the men to be married.
No, I totally agree with him on a cultural thing. And you could argue that I'm not doing my Kantian duty by like living in a way that I wish everyone else would. But yeah, I agree. It's good for culturally. It's good for a stable marriage to be a foundational unit of society. But he does also argue for the individual. And I'd be curious what he felt about my particular case. And maybe one day we'll have him on. But
maybe the older you get. Right now you're a young guy.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to commit.
Well, I'm also at an age, which is interesting, where it's not clear. I'm 33. People around me are committing. And right now in the timeline, it is really good for them. Like they really like their partner. They're having babies. They're happy that they're having babies. We will see is kind of how I feel, though, because as much as I don't want this for any of the people that I care about, it is very likely that some portion of them, we'll see how big it is, wind up disliking and despising their partner, getting divorces, and having tremendous issues around the 40s and whatever, which is just, that is the arc.
You're trying to avoid that trap with this path that you're going on.
I think the trap of commitment is always that you will be in a different position or be a different person, or that the person that you've committed to will be a different person. And you are no longer interested in that foreverness because it was an impossible promise to make in the first place. That I will love you forever is an ideal but impossible promise.
My grandma taught me something that she said, you have to fall in love with the person's principles and like what they stand for. Because if they're the correct person, they'll never change those. Not the flashy stuff on top. And I feel like a lot of people now just fall in love with the flashy stuff on top. What do you think about that statement?
I think that that's a way to, I think what people try to do and were successful in earlier generations, I don't even know if they were more. I think they probably just had more unhappy marriages.
They stuck around.
You can stack the deck in your favor. You can wait till after you're 30 to get married. You can marry someone based on principles and not just physical attraction. You can do all sorts of things. And there's obviously no guarantees in life at all, but this is a particularly uncertain area. It's not like you're 99% likely to stay together. Even if you do everything right, you're probably more like 80% likely, which is still a huge 20% of a devastating divorce. And when I see what divorce has done to people, it seems too risky and then the benefit that I'm promised is a depth of relationship. But I don't know. I have my friends. I love when I'm dating someone. I love that woman. Like,
there's no empty hole that you're trying to fill.
The only potential empty hole would be
bank account
after a divorce. No, would be children, and I have not yet felt the desire for that. So I don't know. But I've strayed from the question. Bit. I've strayed from the question. Is it a problem? It's worth looking into. It is something that I look into. I remain open to changing my opinion about commitment, and I'm not. It's not something that I am committed to for life. I guess this is the thing. I have no commitments. I won't even defend my unwillingness to commit. I might change my mind on that.
What a paradox.
That's the ultimate.
What about the quote that's if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall over for everything, or something like that?
Yeah, I think that there's
What do you say to that?
What do you say to that?
Charlie Hooper?
The context in which I think that makes a ton of sense is like, if you don't have principles, you're easy to sway and persuade and to do unethical and immoral things. I have principles. I have moral principles, and
you commit to those principles.
Yeah, I guess the things that I don't commit to are even those principles are I'm open to revisiting them, but I'm firmer in that, and I am semi-firm in my relationships, my dating relationships. I'm quite firm in them. I'm just unwilling to make lifelong commitments to anything, I suppose. And that's what is terrifying, maybe perhaps, about marriage and a kid, is that marriage, you make a promise that you will try, and many people fail. And children, you have to, or else you are a poor parent, which is, I think, a huge failing. So, yeah, I'm committed. I just struggle with lifelong commitments.
Where'd you get this lesson from? Who taught you this? Psychedelics?
What? Taught me what?
This, like, not to commit, just life experience.
Revisiting my prior beliefs has taught me that. So like if you'd, I got a tattoo that I thought was the coolest thing, and it's okay now. And I got,
what does it say?
Secret to freedom is courage, which is exactly, freedom. I was convinced that I'd want to travel the world forever. I couldn't imagine stopping. Why would anyone ever not want to do this? And now I'm like, I don't want to leave my apartment. I've just had so many phases of how could I ever want this to change, and then experience that changing, that I don't trust myself to be static in my desires and in my anything. So that's why I don't make promises that are outside of a certain window. And that's why I try to keep freedom open, even on the micro level of, do you want to go to dinner tonight? Maybe. It's noon right now.
It's impossible to plan with Charlie. It's impossible.
Yeah. But I still go to dinner sometimes,
Yeah.
Sometimes I go, sometimes I don't. I've learned I just disappoint people when I say yes and then don't want to go, and then
disappoint yourself.
I wind up frustrated because I didn't want to do it. So I just tell people don't count on me. I'll be there sometimes. Operate around me, and you'll see me a good portion of the time. So
cool. Does that answer the question? We're good.
I don't know. But yeah, it's worth looking into for me and for you. Is the short answer. Doesn't mean that we have to change it, but it's a good thing when everybody tells you that this is likely a personality trait based on trauma. It's worth considering. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.